Welcome to the 365 Message Center show. Today on the show, we're going to take a look at Immersive Reader for SharePoint pages. SharePoint Events web part starts to get a little pretty instead of whatever it was beforehand. And announcing guest support for Yammer. It's back. Roll it.
Is an interesting description there, Darrell. The web part for events gets pretty as compared to whatever it was. Hello, everyone. This is episode 186. How are you, Darrell?
Good. Yep, good.
How's tomorrow?
We'll leave it at that. Oh,
Okay.
tomorrow's good. Tomorrow's
Okay.
good. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we do have some interesting topics this week, and we should probably just jump right into it, if that's okay. Let's talk about the first message, which is Immersive Reader is coming to SharePoint Pages and News Post, MC243944. So this is coming for targeted release mid-March, which is, now. And then they say through standard release in mid-June. So, somewhere in there, standard release will start and targeted will end. Who knows? So this is really building on the success of the Immersive Reader in the Office apps. It's an accessibility feature is coming to SharePoint. It will read content on a SharePoint page or SharePoint news post for you. Not the homepage, unfortunately, that is excluded, but there will be a button added to the page at the top that you could turn on the Immersive Reader. Now, it will only read text that is in a text box on the page. So that is a limitation here, but it is good to see some of these features coming in and I think we've talked about it last couple of shows on items that are, make it a little more accessible. So being able to have that capability is good for those that, may have trouble seeing what's on the page. So like I said, should be starting now to roll out to targeted tenant. And I'll show for those on here with us on the video. What it'll look like is there'll be a nice button. This screenshot is showing it in between the page details and the analytics buttons is where the Immersive Reader button will be.
It's one of those features that came through for education because they were wanting to help, students to follow along and to be focused on reading. I think that sort of follows as you go as well. So it is good to see some of these features coming through from the education space in recognition of accessibility needs within the organizations.
Yep, I agree with you. So our next topic is we're staying in SharePoint, right? So let's talk about events, shall we?
Yeah. Like I know, as I introduced it during the show, I sounded enthused. I actually am about this one because when we put our modern pages together and we want to make use of the SharePoint Events web part, we have a few options. And I like the card option, but it always felt so empty. It was like you were trying to get an event across and trying to get people to engage with it. It had the details, sure, but to look at it, it was okay. So EMC 243945 is announcing that there will be the image that you can put on the event. And remember, you can go and create an event, and it has this header where you can put in an image. The page looks fine, but when we put that web part on a page to bring a list of events coming, that image never came through, and it always felt really weird that we didn't see it. So they're bringing that. There's a example or two in the message showing you what it looks like. There's the card view, which is that sort of portrait style date and what the event is, and it'll show that header image. And if you're using the list view of the events, then that little square thumbnail is going to bring through the view of that header image that you might have used. Daniel, do you expect it to have the same kind of controls? You know, sometimes we're able to drag and say, this is where we want the image to center. Do you think it'll...
we can do that on pages. For this web part, I highly doubt it. I highly doubt we'll have any sort of control. In fact, I think for what it'll do here is it'll probably just take whatever the image is and it sizes to whatever it needs to be on, like you said, there's that card view, which looks like it may show the entire picture or the picture with the right aspect. And then the vertical view, which is kind of squares, right? If we're doing just the looking at the vertical option. And I have thought the events web part has been maybe the most boring web part in SharePoint, because you're right. And in fact, it's very confusing. So if you look at, I think maybe it's just for me, but if you look at we're looking at the message here, and if you look at the web part, the current one, you look at it and the first thing you notice is a number, right? Your eye goes to the number because that's the biggest thing. But what it is a little square that has the abbreviation for the month. And then below it is the number for the date. But you look at it and it's a date. But so on this screenshot, it's a perfect example. It says 31 and then 4 and then 6. Okay, great. So those are all events probably within 1 week, right? 31st and then the 4th and then the 6th, right? That's within 7 days. Nope. 31 is in May apparently, and then September 6th. And so you totally overlook the months. I think it's confusing and it's boring. So what we're getting is this, pictures. Everybody loves pictures, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And look, like I said, it's about trying to get people attracted and engaged to what that event is. Don't just rely on clever titling of the event. But anyway, that's looking forward to seeing that. And that is rolling out to targeted release, select user and organization in late March, and expected to be completed for standard release in late June. That's actually quite a gap. March, April, May, June. So they're not going to complete this for quite some time. Yep. Anyway, tell us, Daniel, about this change to Yammer and guest support.
Yeah, this is announcing general availability of guest support in Yammer native mode, in parentheses, MC244062. And this is bringing general availability in late March. So this is quick, and we're not getting very much notice here at all. Fortunately for us, it'll be turned off by default, meaning this is not something they're forcing on you without a whole lot of notice. The changes, and so it's already rolling out and it'll be done by the late of March. For those organizations with networks aligned to native mode in Yammer, network admins will be able to turn on the ability to give so that external collaborators can come in and be part of your community. And then community admins will then be able to invite guests. The ability to invite guests can be controlled per community, though. So it's not like you're turning it on for your whole network and then every community then gets to do it. Like you can control per community if they are allowed to do it. Like I said, it's off by default, and you can control it by there's several ways you can control this. One of which being that you can control it by a domain name. So you could do things like, I don't want my competitor, so their domain name is xyz123.com. I do not want them to be invited as guests. So let's kill that. Now that could be, if you go that way, that might be a lot of work to list all the domains you don't want to allow. But also things like you can probably use that to you disallow things, domains from Outlook and Gmail and those kind of things too. So you can control that.
Mm-hmm.
So do you foresee this being a big thing? I mean, it
Well,
seems like it was something that was very much requested. So,
Well, yeah, it requested to be added to the new Yammer experience because we did have it before we shifted
hmm
into this native mode with
hmm
connected Office 365 groups. And I belong to a few of those external groups. Microsoft invited me to a couple, and there was a couple of other vendors that would. It got around that need to run entire external networks for Yammer. If you wanted to collaborate, you could just dedicate a group for that, bring people into it, and you could have those conversations
hmm
within that without having to change tenant. Does
right.
that sound familiar?
Yes, it does.
Sound like the whole team's dichotomy. But yeah, so it's good to see it come back to the Yammer experience. It is going to add some considerations to that whole guest access discussion
It is.
yeah, because it better be managed in the same way that everything else is. I believe it will be because it's all about Office 365 groups. That's the key thing. Native mode is about being Office 365 group based. And therefore, like you can use things like sensitivity labels to have control over it now too, which is it's pretty cool.
Well, and it's very interesting, I think, that I don't want to get in trouble here, but so there was this movement to use Microsoft 365 groups, right? And so everybody was using it. And then products started saying, well, we want to give you an option. Power BI being one that said, we really need to have workspaces that are not tied to groups. And so you can do that, but actually default now is not to do that. And then we've got other products that we've talked about here in the recent months that are moving away from being tied to groups. At least, giving you the option or sometimes being the default. And now we have Yammer catching up to using groups, right? The native mode being tied to that and allowing this external access when other apps are kind of fleeing from being tied to groups. I think it's interesting, just this dynamic about what we used to talk about when what you got with a Microsoft 365 group, an Office 365 group before has changed and continues to morph on what it controls. And so I think you're right. This adds complexity, to making sure that you're managing your Yammer network and the communities within it appropriately. But there's so many other things that are added to that complexity, right? It just, I think it's important if you're using Yammer, if you're allowing Yammer, that you pay attention to this is what I think, so.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good to see it come back. I think our advice is admins and people who are going to own these communities should understand what the implications are, just like anything else where you have guest access.
So
All
speaking
right.
of, you kind of alluded to something else about switching tenants, which was kind of an alluding to Teams. Our next message is about Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, this is about poll creation for Teams. When you're wanting to get people engaged during a Teams meeting, by asking them some questions and getting some feedback and even presenting that feedback. MC 244304 introduces some AI-assisted poll creation. Apparently, it's something that's been in the Forms product for some time. They're bragging about it being since 2018, getting suggestions for creating poll questions and answers. So they're bringing it in now into that poll experience for a Teams meeting. They've got individual roadmap items for the different kinds of suggestions that
Yes,
they're going
they
to
do.
make. Yeah, so specific polls based on a title of a meeting. Roadmap number 79490. I'm not going to read through the roadmap. I had to start on it. But so you're creating a poll in a meeting. The meeting has a certain title. So the poll that you create will make some suggestions. um, if you're creating that poll based on others that you've previously created. And here's a one that you'll probably often see, is the kind of meetings where you're wanting to get just a quick feedback of, was this a good use of your time? And, that repetitive one.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be suggested to you if you're running a similar kind of meeting, similar kind of time slot recording, or rather name. Lastly, multiple choice answers. So based on the meeting that you're holding, that it might make suggestions for how you might want to add for different answers in that multi-choice. Yeah. So there's a few things to look at there. I guess AI is good to get us off to a good start. I do find, though, sometimes I want AI to not be in the way, right? Not making too many suggestions or not trying to auto-complete everything I type.
Yeah. This is a good example. I think this screenshot of this feature is, if you type in what is your favorite color, then it's going to give you color options to use, to click instead of having to type out blue, teal, pink, green. Okay. That's helpful, I think. But you're right. It is something where we have to be careful. And we've talked about this before, is, I don't think AI is there to the point yet where it really can deviate much. It sticks to just like the responses in email of, okay, thank you, or okay, thanks, or, sure, I'll do it, or whatever those, and if everybody's doing it, then, you're asking 5 people something and all 5 of them respond with exactly the same words. It's because they clicked the button on their mobile. And so I think you're right there. But I do like the ability to quickly create these polls, especially if you're in a meeting and you want to, do it really quickly. But
yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I don't think this message actually talks much about it, but the ideal is to be able to create these polls before the meeting, so that you can go ahead and publish it when you need to share it with the audience. So I don't think we're there yet, but at least this helps the process along. Anyway, so that begins to be rolled out in late March and expect to be completed in late April. And create some engaging polls. Go to it.
Now, do it. No, wait, finish the show and then go do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, segue.
Oh, you got a segue? Do you have a good one?
Yeah. No, okay. I don't really.
Oh,
I'm not good at this, man. So tell me about this other thing.
Perfect. I love it. Tell us about the other thing, Daniel.
Next message.
This next message is SharePoint Page Analytics, MC244 306. I got excited when I saw this. I really did. I'm not saying this just to have some drama on the show. I really did get excited about this because I'm dealing with some organizations now that are using out of the box SharePoint, and they want to understand engagement. We built this page. Right. We're having people build pages and sites and hubs, but are they even using it? Right? So they want to know more about the analytics, and people are so used to seeing what's available with other types of products. So they want to see some of that analytics in SharePoint. So this is rolling out, this update is rolling out targeted org, if you've got that selected, mid-March through mid-April, and then standard release early April through late April. Very interesting. It's overlapping. If you notice, one ends in mid-April and the other starts early April. So not a whole lot of time for them to learn, but maybe they've got it down pat. But Microsoft will be introducing new page and news post analytics in SharePoint. And really, I said I got excited when I saw this until I read it. Because the changes aren't a huge improvement, in my opinion. Yes, they're an improvement. Don't get me wrong. Yes, it's nice to see more types of analytics, more types of numbers. But it's not exactly, I think, got us there to the point where people would say, wow, this is all the analytics I need to understand engagement. It's just not there yet. I don't think. And hey, I'm a co-host on the show, and I can say what I think, right? But it is
That's the idea.
It is that is the idea. But it is an improvement. So the three things that we're going to be getting new is page viewers, page views, and average time spent per user. Okay.
That's the part that I'm thinking like, what? That's pretty cool, that one.
Yeah. So the average time spent per user, that is an item if you're using any other type of analytics product, which I do, another third-party product that you can put on your public websites, and it gauges, is understanding how long are people spending on your page. Are they coming in and going within 2 seconds, oh, this is not it, and clicking out? Or are they staying for 2 minutes, meaning they've actually read the content and consumed it? So that is a way. I will say, though, average time spent per user, that's average across all of your users. So theoretically, you could have people come to your page and have it, leave it open and walk and go get coffee, and now they're ruining your time because they clicked on it and it didn't load quick enough, and so they went and got coffee. Anyway,
you mean your monitor and your webcam aren't tracking your eyes to see if you're actually reading?
Right.
Oh, bummer.
So, I think it is interesting information, and it will give you a little bit more information about what is going on. I just don't want us to get too overly excited about this. That is. So if you click on additional information,
it's already given us like good tools to help us decide what do we need to do to tweak this content up so that people are going to stick around longer. And did we publish it at the time that everyone needs to read it?
I agree. It is helping. So we already have this page traffic by time that gives us a good idea of when people are coming to our site and to our pages, so that we can understand, okay, if everybody's hitting this around lunchtime, then let's post before lunch so they can actually see it, right? If we wanted them to see it that day. So we get page viewers. And one thing this does do is nice is it has this top right corner actually gives you an all-time view. So for this page, when I clicked on the additional information, I'm loading this support document. Under page viewers, it says unique viewers 168, 30% up since last week. So I'm looking at this week view. But if you look in the top right corner, it says 3,468. That's all time. That's not. It is whenever it was created until now. So if you go look at page views, then you'll see that as well. That we have 125,498 here. That's all-time page views. So it is good information. I like this, and I like that we're getting that. Hey, how many times has this actually been seen? I will say the page viewers does take an account. It's if I go to it multiple times, it only counts me once. So it is intuitive or is it smart enough to understand that? The average time spent is doesn't give us that all time kind of tracking, but you're seeing that in per the allotment that you've checked on the report to see. This one is showing since last week, so this is weekly. And then the page traffic is what you were talking about, and we already have that, and it is here. So it is showing the page traffic by time, to see, kind of like this heat map of, when people come to the site. So,
hey, the average time spent per user, in that graph example there, 6 minutes and 45 seconds, 40% down last week. You see the graph on the side there, 400. You reckon that's 400 seconds on the x-axis?
Yeah, I do.
I gotta wonder about that, because like 6 minutes 45 seconds, that's 360 plus another 45, that's roughly 400. So what is that x-axis?
I think maybe they had some time with Photoshop and didn't do it right, or?
Yeah.
I don't know,
Wondering
Darrell.
about that.
I don't know what's going on.
That's me being picky. I'm just pretending that I like math. But that's cool. Look, I think these are good. These are good tools, aren't they? For at least out of the box, giving you some more
Yep.
information to try and drive more engagement, pick the right time, tweak a few things like your title and your first sentence or two.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So let me talk about Microsoft Teams. Let's get into our quick mentions section of the show.
Yes, yes.
So Microsoft Teams is giving us the ability to, on our mobile app, so iOS and Android, all at the same time, which I'm loving. This is Microsoft Teams Mobile Optimized Network Data Usage MC244059. They're giving us the ability to reduce the bandwidth that is being used by video in Teams on our mobile device. Great. This is a good thing, especially if you're, and this is, I think, really targeted towards sell, of course, to kind of really hone in on how many times have you been in a Teams meeting, let's say, on your mobile device. And I've joined quite a few, and it's getting kind of iffy on hearing what people are saying. And you've got video going and screen share and all this going on your phone. And then and it's like, this is going to give you the ability to, in your settings, this is a per user thing. This is not something an organization can enforce or send out, but I can say, better utilize the network when I'm on cellular is one option. And so when I'm on cellular, then it's going to reduce the bandwidth that's used by video so that we can still talk, right? So we can still keep communicating. So it's going to limit that video usage to, I think it's 500 kilobits per second on average. So there's three options. One, I just said cellular. Another option is never, which is the default. So you're not going to use this feature unless you go in there into the settings and change this. And then the third is always. So if you always want to just dial down the video traffic, then you can set that. So that is in your settings, and it shows you how to get there. I'll pop this image up. Shows you how to go to settings and then data and storage, and there's a reduce data usage option. You click that and you have your three choices. What do you think, Darrell? Good thing?
I think they've had to introduce this for a couple of reasons. There are more people having meetings, of course. But I think when they introduced more gallery view of people in the gallery on a mobile, that's taking, different video feeds from different people. And, I don't think it's doing anything too fancy at the server end where it's compiling that all together and presenting that to you as one sort of object that's sort of just changing up its frames. It's still taking individual feeds. So if Daniel had poor bandwidth, he would start to look a little blocky versus someone else who's come in and, they look different. But yeah, 500 kilobits. I think it'll go down to probably, average kind of quality. I think it's a good move.
I think it's just, it is protecting the voice. Because yes, video is important, but I think in those situations you're on your mobile. You're not trying to have the best experience ever. I mean, you're just trying to be a participant in the meeting. Then audio is probably the.
You know what?
Yes,
because a shared desktop, or if you're sharing an application, that is still considered shared video, and so this setting will actually apply to that too. It actually puts more onus on the presenter to make sure that their screen size is not the crazy size resolution that their massive monitor might be, because that's also going to look absolutely rubbish at 500 kilobits per second. It will. If you're presenting, narrow it down to 1920 by 1080 or even smaller, or just focus on the application. But that's important.
I think we're asking too much.
Probably
of an average user to keep. I'm not supposed to share my. I think a good choice is to share the app. If you're
Mm-hmm.
wanting to share an app and that's all you're going to share, then share the app. So don't share your whole desktop. And so you can
Yeah.
size it and have it. The trap there is that I've been in way too many meetings, and this was supposed to be a quick mention, by the way. I've been in too many meetings where someone shared the app, and I've even done this, and it's like, oh, I need to show something else. Let me show the desktop or whatever. So you got to unshare, and then you got to reshare, and you got to sit there and
Yep.
wait, and and everybody's going, okay, what do I do now while we wait? Is it there yet? Can you see it? Can anyone see it? Can someone tell me?
You know that joke that you're trying to tell me to fill in the dead air while you were sharing that screen? I didn't get the joke. Can you go back and tell me the punchline again?
So anyway, I think that is that's fun. This should be completed by mid-March. So check your mobile app now because we're in mid-March. So make sure you got the latest update for iOS or Android, and you'll be able to use that feature. If you use Teams on your mobile device, I would highly suggest you take a look at that and turn it on. At least cellular would be my recommendation. Last quick mention, which hopefully will actually be a quick mention this time.
Oh, it'll be super quick. Yeah. Yeah. So for Microsoft Lists, the person column is improved. How about that? I kind of rejiggled it. Anyway, EMC 244060. What you'll see is as you're using the people picker, it's going to present to you people that you connect with frequently. All right, so it's using the graph to make suggestions and help you quickly get to the people that you want to choose. So good. I think that's okay if the list is based around teamwork and people that you're currently working with. So you'll probably find this most useful when it's a list to do with the team or a list to do with people that you communicate with. If it's a list that you're just generally making for anyone in the organization, if you've got a large organization, it's probably not going to make the suggestions that you're looking for. So do get used to just typing up that name. It'll autofill and narrow it down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's ideal to speed up that list creation and list choices.
I agree. Anything to make it go faster,
Yes.
Let's get on with it.
Yeah. Rolling out mid-March, complete by late April.
So yeah, we have about a month and a half rollout. So I'm anything to help, like I said, anything to help us get that done quicker and be able to not have to, if you've been working in SharePoint Online to even a little bit, and you worked with people column and you start typing, sometimes you can't find people, sometimes or not just can't find somebody, it just doesn't pop them up, and you're like, no, and someone I work with all the time, I want to find them in here. So anyway, I think it's good. We have gotten to the point of the show where we have nothing left. No other topics.
We didn't manage to find a callback that we felt was callback worthy.
No, we did. I was looking at one that was supposed to have rolled out last month and hasn't been updated. And so I clicked the little thumbs down and said, hey, where is this? It has not been rolled out. So yeah,
honestly, I think we're seeing that more often, that the release schedules are either being pushed out, or the other scenario we see is, ta-da, it's actually here already. Sorry, we didn't tell you. So it's harder for us to sort of find a callback and say, it was mentioned a little while ago, it's just landed.
Will you please forgive us, folks, for not having a callback this week? I'd appreciate it. I do want to quickly mention that we now have an official club in Clubhouse, the mobile app for iOS. For those that are on the iPhone and iPad, you can download the Clubhouse application, and you can go to clubhouse.365mcs.com or clubhouse.messagecenter.show, and that'll take you directly to our Clubhouse where you can follow or join our club, whatever that means. So we do have another meetup scheduled on Clubhouse this week. Same bat time, same bat channel. My time, you in the U.S. Central Time is 5 p.m. on this Thursday. That is 11 p.m. UTC. And then for Darrell, it is noon.
It'll actually be an hour earlier. So
Oh, no.
what would have been my lunchtime will now be probably 11 a.m. We'll work on that.
We'll work on that. So pay attention to the social. And what Darrell is talking about is we had daylight savings time flip over this weekend, this past weekend for us in the U.S., most of us anyway. And so anyway, so we'll figure that out. Pay attention to the socials so you can check out. And I think we have a good time. We get on there and we just chat and let you chat, ask questions, talk about stuff that's come up new. And we talk about things we talk about in the show before we get to the show. So anyway.
Yeah, it's always good to hear the opinions and first reactions from people. Yeah.
So anyway, that's our show number 186. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we will talk to you in Clubhouse, or we'll catch you at the show next week. So bye-bye for now.
See ya.